What's up, YouTube? I'm Robert, and this is the B1KER Bar channel. This is episode 56 of the B1KER Bar Podcast live stream. Oh, I just love saying that slowly. For some reason, it just fucking tickles me. Anyways, dropping the F-bombs right out the gate today. Sorry about that. Anyways, hey, this show here is sponsored by Patreon. I want to thank all you guys out there on my Patreon. Those of you guys that have signed up recently, that's awesome. Even if it's $1 a month, it makes a difference because that beer is not free. All those bottles back there, you guys bought these. So you guys helped build this set. If it wasn't for you guys on Patreon, I wouldn't have this awesome background behind me. Outside of that, I wanted to mention to you guys that my Instagram is like almost at 3,000. And I just want to see it at 3,000. So if you guys aren't following my Instagram, can you do that in the show more? There's a link down there. It's at B1KER B1, so B1KER B1. That's the Instagram channel. It's pretty easy. You just go over there, you hit the little button, and next thing you know, you're in. And then you get all the pictures and you know all the backstory on the, and there's like secret information over there. You're not even going to know until you're there. If you like the B1KER Bar channel and you like the podcast and you want to see them keep happening, hit the subscribe button. Seriously, I have a goal that I really want to see this channel like close to 10,000 at the end of the year. And that's where I'll make up my mind if I'm going to keep doing it or not. And I was looking at Social Blade today and it says I'm only going to be at like 6,000. So I want you guys to prove Social Blade's analytical machine over there wrong by hitting the subscribe button. If you like what you're seeing or what you're hearing, hit the thumbs up. If you guys are on the podcast, thanks a lot, man. Leave me a review. I like it every time I go over there and read the new ones. It makes me feel good. The last thing that I want to say is, yes, I said this show is sponsored by Patreon, but I figured I wanted to give a shout out to another company just real quick. This hat that I'm wearing right here is called Original Free Range. If you guys watch my last Chameleon video, they make this strap that will put a bottle on the underside of your, like, basically you can put a bottle on your frame anywhere. It's just like the strap that people use for their tubes, except for it's a lot wider. And what it's made for generally is a bike like my Bronson, where it only has one water bottle cage. And I've been really enjoying not riding with the pack at all. So an extra water bottle is a big deal. And I found this strap and you just put it on the bottom of your bike. And you can strap an extra water bottle on. And then they also make this little neoprene like bottle condom that you can slide on the top. And that thing is awesome. It keeps the dirt out. And because of that, I'm like middle of the summer still doing, like, I'm not doing, the big rides without a backpack, but I'm doing some pretty decent rides with just 2 water bottles, and I'm stoked about that. It's better than carrying a bag, and it's better than carrying a hip pack. And with all that being said, let's move on. Today we got Nick from VanCan. I'm assuming that means Vancouver, Canada. Am I correct?
That's right. Yeah.
Right on, man.
Not nearly as fun and original as you might think.
No, I honestly, I think I asked you that like maybe a year or two ago on Slack or something like that. Because I remember being like, what's that mean? Or like completely clueless. And then you were like, you told me and I was like, wow, that's I should have figured that out.
It's like it's too obvious.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, it reminds me, I don't remember what movie that was. Look at the brains on Bob. You know what movie that was? What is that? I think it's like there might be Pulp Fiction. Here, we got to switch over the comments. Bet you somebody's saying it right now. Or no, it's check out the brains on Brad. That's what it is. Something like that. Anyways, moving on. Dude, have you seen any good memes lately?
Oh.
I saw one the other day and it said, you've grown up when you don't kick the ice under the refrigerator. And I like right before I came out here, I was like putting ice in my cup and I like fell on the floor and I looked at it and I was like, pick it up.
No, I would definitely still just
kick it under there.
Yeah, as water.
If they're small enough pieces, I just walk away. I'm like, the dog will get it, maybe.
Yeah, my dog loves ice. He just goes nuts for ice cubes.
Oh, right on. One of my friends in high school, his dog was like that. Like he could throw it on the hardwood floor, and the dog would just be like all over the place, chasing it around.
Yeah, it's a good way to entertain him.
What kind of dog do you have?
We have a corgi.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
That's right. I've seen him on your Instagram and stuff lately. As a puppy.
Yeah, is he 7 months old now?
Yeah,
he's a cardigan corgi.
he's like Instagram gold, man. I remember when he first started punching the pictures up there, or posting the pictures up there on Instagram. I was like, what?
Yeah, everyone really likes him. He's got a funny personality too. He's really sassy. So he's
yeah. Does he go out on the trail with you?
Not yet. You're not supposed to run them too much until they're about a year old. So try not to keep them, running.
I just didn't know if they're like little legs. Are they like, can they be trail dogs? I didn't even know.
Well, he's a sprinter, like I guess corgis. So they were bred to herd. They're like herding dogs. So they're good sprinters. They're really fast in short distances.
Oh, there you go. That's
but they, he overheats though. Like
just like me, totally like me.
Yeah, you get him out in the sun, and he'll just like go home. He'll just be like, nah, like,
forget it.
Yeah, it's too hot.
Over it.
Yeah, so, in the winter though, it's good.
Yeah. So, how long you been doing your channel, man?
2.5 years. So it was February 2018 when I started.
Man, you're doing a lot better than me. You got like 50K already, right?
Yeah, just hit it this week. Yeah, this last week. Yeah,
that's super exciting, man.
Yeah, super kind of weird. Just kind of like it. If you had told me 2 years ago, like, probably wouldn't have believed you. Like, like when I started the channel, I was kind of like, oh, I remember I was like, oh, maybe I'll hit 1,000 subscribers like within the year when I first started. And I think I hit it before summer. And then
did you start in like January or something like that?
Yeah, so I started in like I think I made the channel like in January, uploaded my first video February, and then it really, so I think when the bike park opened, I put up a video of Fade to Black, and that one kind of did pretty well. And then that's how like I got bumped up, and kind of the Whistler bike park videos.
Yeah,
the YouTube algorithm shined upon me. And
you're in the right area for the algorithm.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Yeah, just right place, and then right time too. And
what made you want to do it?
Well, I've always made videos. So I started riding when I was 13. So I mountain biked. Well, kind of like I bought a mountain bike, but we just rode on the street and like hit jumps and stuff. And then I just converted my mountain bike to this so I had a Specialized rock hopper. And I just had like made it super street. It was even a mullet. It was 24-inch in the back and 26-inch in the front.
Oh, right.
Just a rear brake. And then eventually, I was just riding the skate park and stuff. I was like, whatever. I'm just going to buy a BMX. And then from, 15 until 3 years ago, I just BMX'd. And
really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen you doing some BMX stuff on your channel, like but I didn't know that was like really like what most of your background was. Yeah,
and so we filmed like I guess like more edits, like especially in BMX, you kind of would just film maybe all summer for just a video part. Other people, a lot of my friends were a lot better at it than me, and actually put out like pretty legit parts and rode for brands and stuff.
Oh, right on.
So yeah, I've always done that. I've had, I can't remember if I posted it to my channel. I posted all of it to Instagram, like just like some really old videos. But yeah, I've always made them. And then I can't remember whose video I saw first. I think it was probably Eric, like BZPOV's video. And I was like, oh, that just looks really cool, because Eric was putting out like just such cool looking GoPro footage.
Right.
And I had tried it. So right when I started riding, my friends took me to Whistler. I borrowed a mountain bike and I tried to GoPro some stuff. And I was like, I thought it looked really cool. I was like, whoa, cool. Like you're on a trail. And then I saw Eric's video where it was like stabilized and you could actually like see things and it sounded really good. And I was like, oh, that's cool.
Right.
And then I just went down the rabbit hole of like
right down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, I just got really into it. Yeah.
That's cool, man. When I used to BMX when I was a kid and stuff like that. I got into mountain biking pretty young, and the sport itself was pretty young too at the time. But like the BMX we did was just like ride around town and like jump downstairs and knock everybody's trash can down and bunny hop over just like we were like hoodlums basically, hoodlums, but like at least we were doing something like beneficial for a while. So like I don't know, but I think that's probably I think that plays well into being a mountain biker later. I mean, I would assume that you agree.
Yeah. I think like from what I can tell, a lot of people like maybe a problem among maybe people who started a little later, like average riders right now, who are looking to get to the next level, kind of might have skipped over the fundamentals part.
Yeah.
That a lot of people did when they were kids, like just jumping and bunny hops and stuff. It's kind of like something about being a kid and being on a bike just like draws you to jumps and bunny hops.
Right. Yeah. What else are you going to do?
Yeah. And then, so you get like these basic, you're doing wheelies and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think those bike skills help a lot.
I think there's some other parts of it too. I mean, like, I didn't realize this until it was a conversation I was having with somebody on this recently. It might have been Jeff Kendall Weed last week, but we were talking about, you start out, you're on a hardtail, and that teaches you a lot. And I think the other thing is like, you're also on a single speed. So like that, like feeling that you get when you've pedaled up that one hill by your house for the first time, like that plays into mountain biking later, where you're like, no, I'm just going to keep trying until I get this. You know what I mean? And like, know that satisfaction as well. So it's not only like that, like, what you were talking about, the bunny hops and stuff, because I totally agree with you. But like, I feel like it's like it's even bigger than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good point about the bike itself. I was actually just thinking that too. I was listening to someone talk about training in some other sport, and they were talking about doing like the motion slow and like correctly, and getting used to it before just trying. Oh, it was what was it? It was like jiu-jitsu or something. They're like, do this kick, like do it slow, do it smooth, and then just go for it after, like once you get the motion down. And I think of BMX, because it's so small, it's so light, you can, a bunny hop and getting up to manual, it's a little easier.
Yeah.
Like teaching someone to manual on a downhill bike would just be so much more work. Whereas I could probably teach someone to manual on a BMX quite a bit faster. And then once they can do it on the little bike, then moving over to a mountain bike is even easier. And then I think I see the same thing with scooter kids, because scooter kids seem to be able to do like some really crazy tricks really fast on bikes. And I think it's like that whole thing again, like they're on an even smaller, like little thing. They're getting all the motions down because they're still like bars. They're they're doing backflips and stuff, and it's not nearly as scary. And then they go on a bike and they kind of have the the fundamentals.
Right.
So it's like another step down. Everyone should start on scooters. We'll move to
right. I remember when the scooters came out, like when I was a kid, they had these like ones with like 4-inch wheels and like rubber tubes on them and stuff. And those things were like really fun, because it was like you didn't have to have like any kind of like bike skills to learn how to like bunny hop on a scooter. You just hop. You know what I mean? And like when those things came out, they had like rails on the bottom, like skateboards and stuff like that. Like you could like go right up and just slide, do like a rail slide down the curb or something. It was like, it didn't take much to like get you to like feel like you were doing something, like accomplishing some kind of like tricks and stuff like that. So I think what you're saying though, like all the like little motor skills and stuff like that you're building, it's key. I think another thing too, while you were talking about that, I was thinking about is also like bike maintenance. Like when I was a kid, like we didn't have my family didn't have any money to go like get a bike fixed. So anything like broke or needed to be adjusted, it was like you went over your buddy's house and you just messed with it until you figured it out. I mean, I know how we used to true BMX tires. We just stand on them. You know what I mean? Just kind of like jump up and down on it. Okay, it looks like straight enough now. Like that was it.
Yeah. No, I've definitely been there where just you're stomping on the wheel and you're hoping it gets pretty straight. Yeah. And I still remember sitting on my deck, and I had like this old CCM and trying to get the gears to work, like just playing with the derailleur, being like, I have no idea what's going on. Like, and now it seems so obvious, but I remember just having no clue. But I just played with it, and you knew if it wasn't working.
Right.
Yeah.
You definitely knew if it wasn't working. You're like, that thing is annoying as hell.
Yeah. That was another thing I did a lot as a kid, like, 10, 12 years ago now, just like bike maintenance stuff.
You're just tinkering with stuff, like, I know, like, it's funny. I just never, sometimes it takes a conversation to like actually make some of that stuff click. And you're like, man, I never really thought about that before, So earlier you were saying you could teach somebody how to manual, or you were talking about teaching somebody how to manual. And I was like perusing through your channel before we got on here. And I saw that you built a computer to like teach people how to manual. You got to tell me about this thing.
Yeah. I've been trying to think of ways like that you could teach people or teach yourself to manual. I know the manual machine was pretty popular, but I don't think I've actually seen anyone like use it successfully. It's like people who know how to manual build them and then like play around. And
I should try to build one because I have no clue how to manual. And I was never a guy that was like into wheelies. Like I had my friends that like I think it was all my one buddy's fault because he could like wheelie for like 3 miles. So it was like nobody else wanted wheelie because like he'll just show you how like, oh, I'm gonna wheelie down the street for the next mile, and I'm gonna wheelie right up the railing of the bridge and across the bridge and back down the other side. And you're like, get out of here, dude. I'm gonna do something else then.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I just learned to wheelie really not that long ago. Like 2 years ago, I kind of just got into a parking lot and just started doing wheelies because I could manual, but I'd never. And BMX, you don't really sit down and pedal, so it's a weird feeling.
Right.
But yeah, I think the one thing I do want to build that just would take a lot of time is I want to build they have them for motorbikes. It's like what would you call it? They're on wheelchairs too to stop you from going all the way back, like kind of. So you could just go all out, pull up the front wheel, and then when you go too far back, something would catch you. Like 2 wheels or something, because a lot of people that I've seen practicing, like that's the big scary part,
right?
It's just like committing to it, and I have that problem now with nose manuals. Like I'm really scared to get up into it, and so I thought, what if you had basically a coach, in my case, just a beeping machine. That basically just yells.
Well, let's explain it so people that didn't see the video. So you built this little computer that basically has a beep, and when you pull up to do the manual, it beeps when you get closer, like beeps faster as you get closer to the manual spot, and then it stops when you're in the right spot.
Yeah, so I have it being like as annoying as possible until you're doing your manual. Yeah, it beeps really slow on the flat, and then you just choose whatever angle you think you're should be going to, and then as it approaches it beeps faster and faster until you get into sort of, I put this a few angles where it was okay,
right?
And then once you start to go, and then I had it once you start to go like a little too far back, it would just turn fully on, and then
like the flat line sound, like
grab the brake as hard as you can right there, and it's kind of like I'd be curious to see if it would help anyone. It was just a fun little project.
I thought like when I saw it, I was like, this is such a cool idea. Like, I bet you it was a lot of fun just to build in general as well.
Yeah. What part of it was I just I kind of gotten out of that kind of stuff, and I was like, I should probably build something just so I don't forget.
Yeah.
And I was like, make a video about it and kill as many birds.
You use like a little like Raspberry Pi or something like that?
Yeah, so I used an Arduino, and it's pretty simple. It ended up just being I bought an Arduino Uno, and then I just popped the chip off of it, the lat melt chip, and then I put it in a breadboard, and so it ended up just being that, a battery and the buzzer, I think, and because luckily even the melt chip has a lot of little stuff inside it to,
that's super cool.
Stuff out for you, and
I always wanted to do a project with a Raspberry Pi, and I was like, man, I need to come up with something. And finally, like I was like, they got all these emulators you can play like old Nintendo games and PS4 and like Atari and stuff like that. I was like, oh, I'm gonna I'm gonna build a little emulator. And so I build this little Raspberry Pi, and I'm like, oh, I got to get a cool case for it, And then I'm like, oh, well, I need the original Atari controllers, original Nintendo controllers, original Super Nintendo controllers. So that way, whatever game I'm playing with the right controller. Because, playing Super Mario Brothers with like an Xbox controller, it just doesn't feel right. Right.
Right.
You have to have the right controller. So then I go buy all these controllers, and this is just how my life is. Everything snowballs, right? Yeah. So then I buy all these controllers, and I was like, I need something to carry all these controllers in because I need to have all this stuff together, right? Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, it would be cool if I bought like a little old suitcase, like a little suitcase box, and I'd stick all that stuff in there, and then I could carry it around when I go to my friend's house. Hey, man, we're gonna play some Nintendo. Mm-hmm. So as soon as I put the shit in the box, I'm like, man, that would be really neat if this box had a screen in it. So essentially, I end up building a laptop. But it turned out really cool. Like it looks like this little box that's like, it looks like a suitcase, and like a little tiny like 10 by 12 suitcase. You open it up, got a screen in it. You can plug it into your TV, or you can just like let it sit in your garage and collect dust because that's what you did for a year.
Those projects are really good. Gives you an idea of just how things work. And there's so much more documentation now and like libraries and instructables that guide you through the whole thing that it's a good time for all that kind of stuff. Like, so you can learn a lot.
I do IT. I mean, most people who watch my channel probably know that. If they don't, hey, they do now. What is it what's your background that gives you the ability to be talking about a circuit board as a breadboard and like just throwing it out there? You're like, hey man, I'm like one of those dudes.
I did my undergrad in electrical engineering, focused in physics, and now I go to Simon Fraser University in Vancouver here. I'm a graduate student, and I guess it's biomedical engineering. Technically, that's what it'll say on my parchment, I think. But my lab is let's see. There's like a whole hierarchy here. We'll just skip down one. So my advisor is head of MEG at Surrey Memorial Hospital, and MEG stands for magnetoencephalography, and that's a type of functional brain imaging. Just like it's like EEG. So the E in the EEG stands for electro. That's the like electrical signals that make its way to the top of your head. Whereas an MEG, it stands for magneto, and it's the magnetic signals that are in your head. And this machine, it kind of looks like it looks like a big helmet. It's all just this big one unit, and
I'm pretty sure I saw a movie with this guy in it before.
It does look like, it almost looks like a massive version of Magneto's helmet.
Yeah, I think we're onto something here. I know where these guys come up with these names at.
Lowers down onto your head like a scene from Star Wars, like Darth Vader.
Right? Or like Spaceballs more.
Yeah. It's like that, but just here. And
so you're going to engineering, learning how to engineer this machine, basically?
Well, the machine's pretty complicated. They are made here in Vancouver. So my advisor is head of that at the hospital. And I'm working on so right now the machine, the way it picks up the magnetic fields is like these little loops of wire, like an antenna, you know, that maybe you'd use as a radio. Except for they don't use them in radio, but it's an antenna, and we super cool them so that they're really sensitive. And that whole process is really expensive. You got to keep helium on hand and keep it in liquid. You got to pour it, and it leaks out, and it's this whole ordeal. So another way that they're trying to do it, another way that you can measure these really small magnetic fields, like the one in your head, is through a thing called an optically pumped magnetometer, which is just fancy bunch of words. Basically,
it's crazy, man. I would have never expected that we had a rocket scientist over here running the VanCan channel.
And then so basically, I take some metal and I heat it up until it's a vapor, and then I shine some light at it, and basically the metal likes a certain type of light. It absorbs a certain type of light, and it's a function of magnetic field. So it changes based on how much magnetic field it is there is there, and you can.
So that's what you want to do, like for the that's like your career goals, or
I'm not sure. Well, like we'll
Yeah.
see. You know, people always ask, like, well, what are you gonna do in 5 years? Like, what's your, 50 years? Where are you gonna be exactly?
I got to put this comment up. This guy says, all of a sudden, I feel really dumb.
It's all smoking mirrors and fancy words.
Yeah.
If you were there, you wouldn't be so impressed. But
right.
I just use my big thesaurus to scare people off.
I'm one of those people that always like downplays everything. So like, I think that for the most part, like what you were just saying a minute ago, like even though things sound very difficult, they're typically not like really difficult.
Yeah,
it's the experience that gets you there and stuff like that. I mean, like, and sometimes I'll be in these meetings and there's like IT people really like to like blow smoke up their end, and like I'll be like, dude, this is not rocket science. This is like it's this simple. Like we could go out and hire a monkey to do this, you know, and like people just look at me and they just get so upset. It's like, you got to be kidding me, man. Get off your high horse, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just going to add on to that and say, I felt the same way. I'm a teaching assistant for a lot of classes. I've tutored a lot of people. And when it comes to math and it starts to get up into the upper years, I think a lot of people are intimidated of like calculus and stuff because you've seen it like in movies portrayed as like really hard. But it's just I think it's because it's just a different language. And it's once you do it and you kind of learn the language the same way you might learn, French, then you're kind of like, oh, like I see, I'm
going to tell you this. I was trying to get it back into mountain biking, but now you said calculus. I'm going to tell you this story. When I took calculus in college, it was like, my schedule was, I was still working a full-time job and I was doing like 18 units in school and I had kids and everything. I was like just crazy busy. Right. So like my schedule was like, there wasn't a whole lot of time where it would be picky and choosy about which classes that I took. So I took this calculus class and the teacher literally just moved to the United States from China, like 3 days before we started class. Like I could not understand anything that he was saying, but like every like sixth or seventh word. Same thing with the rest of my class. And he had this like Chinese attitude of like, I want everybody to be like failing miserably. And so like we would just sit there and have no clue what was going on. I think the best grade in the class was like a 50, like 50%. And he gave us a take home test and we were all like dumb college students. Yeah, let's do a take home test. It was 4 questions. I was in the math lab for 12 hours. Other teachers that teach calculus couldn't answer these questions. And it was just like, oh my God, it was just ridiculous. So right about then I was like, before that class, I was thinking about, man, maybe I'll change my major and do math or something like that. This is really fun. And then that guy was like, nope, Robert, you're not going to be a mathematician. Get the hell out of here.
Yeah. Well, teaching's a two-way street in that you have to be a good teacher, and then your students also need to try. Like you both need to try and do your best job to communicate. Yeah. And I've definitely had profs where I've TA'd for classes where the prof has been bad, and I'm just like, oh no, like this
is going downhill quick.
Because especially when I know the material, and I'm like, if I was in this class, this would be horrendous.
Yeah,
and
be out of here.
It's harder just because it's being maybe not taught incorrectly, but just in a harder way, more abstract, not explaining it super well. Yeah. And that can just make the class so much worse for so many more students. And,
So this guy over here, I saw you did a video the other day about Sun Peaks. And this guy says, is Sun Peaks versus Whistler, which is better? And I know you're in that area, so you're riding those both a lot. I would imagine there's a lot of differences. So how do you want to approach that question?
I would say if you want to hit jumps, like you want to ride A-line kind of stuff, just obviously Whistler has so many jump trails and that you can work up to. So you like crank it up, A-line, dirt merchant, like there's big jumps everywhere there, and you'll hit way bigger jumps than you normally would. Like the jumps on A-line and stuff. If those were outside the park, like there's just no way. There's like,
so what is it about it? It just like it just sets you up just perfectly in the speed.
Yeah,
like before you know it, you're like, holy shit.
Yeah, they're just so smooth, so consistent. And so like the jumps are so big and so long and the landings are so big. There's nothing, it's almost like they're not very technical at all. Like you just gotta send it. And
Right.
they're really forgiving. Like there's a lot of like safety nets kind of like in the design of the jumps. And there's a lot of ways to practice. So you can like do one jump and then a slightly bigger jump and a slightly bigger jump. And you go, okay. And they all feel the same. They did a really good job. So that's probably the best part of Whistler. And then there's just so many trails. Like, obviously the riding there, even the tech trails are all super fun. But that being said, Sun Peaks, I liked it a lot. And
are these places close to each other, or like I'm not
so Whistler is an hour and a half north of Vancouver, and then Sun Peaks is 4 hours sort of northeast.
Okay, so they're a little bit apart then.
Yeah,
a couple hours apart.
Yeah, and so Sun Peaks, just the tech trails I really liked. They're just so steep. All the double blacks were. I didn't really know what to expect, and we rolled into some of them, and I was like, "Whoa, straight down the mountain."
Yeah,
the
like
dirt
fall line trails, just like
one of them is called Smitty's Steeps, and it just is a rut that kind of slightly S turns down the mountain, but just go straight down the mountain. They're just and it's just like you drag the back brake and just go down the mountain. And you're like, "Oh," but
that just happened.
The dirt there is weird. Like it's so grippy. We had really great conditions when we were there, but even I've had those conditions in Whistler because I ride there so much. And the dirt is just it's grippy, and they build the berms steep, so they're almost like little quarter pipes. With Whistler, I think they cater maybe a little more to beginner, and they keep the berms maybe a little more just slight slants. There's still huge berms in Whistler, but it's a definitely different style. And if you're into like steep tech, then you're going to want to go to Sun Peaks. But if you're going on, say if you're going a long trip and you want to hit jumps, then Whistler it's Whistler.
I haven't been there yet. I'd like to go sometime.
It's like Whistler is so big. Yeah, it's definitely worth a trip and staying like at least a week, like 10 days.
That was like I think that was one of my biggest goals for this summer, was to go up there, and then COVID, and it's just like whatever. I guess that's not happening this year. Yeah,
and the village too is like just such a fun place. And my favorite is so right at the bottom of the mountain. There's GLC, and they have drink specials every day that come in buckets. So you get a triple for what is it? It's pretty cheap. So it's like $11 Canadian for a triple.
So it's like 3 beers is what you mean by triple?
Yeah.
Nice.
It's in like a bucket, and they'll have like it'll just be whatever. Some vodka, whatever. And and it's so cheap, especially for Whistler. Like, because in the village, I took my girlfriend out for dinner, and the drinks were $16 each, like a single drink. I was like, I got 2, and I was like, okay, this is the bill.
Pump the brakes here. You gotta bring a flask in and just get a Coke, right?
And the nightclubs are hilarious, and like it's such a nice village. It's like Disney World in that it's so clean and like proper. Right. Everything's in its place. All the bricks are nicely laid out, all the walkways are perfectly clean. And I think Whistler is unique for that kind of village, like because it's so big and popular.
Yeah, I mean, I used to ski a lot, and I always wanted to go up there because I skied a lot in Europe and some pretty like badass places, and that are just huge. And so whenever I moved back to the States, I was in California, and is like I went up to Tahoe, and they're like, everybody around here is like, that's the place to go skiing. And I like got on the hill, and I was like, we got to the point where I wanted to take a break, and I was at the bottom. And I wasn't used to doing that. And like Austria, like you get to where you want to take a break, and you still got a long way to go. You know what I mean? So it was like way different. And I was like, what's going on? So I was like, man, I need to go figure out somewhere else to go that's like Europe, but not have to go back to Europe. And Whistler was the one. But now I want to go there for a whole other reason.
Yeah, no, it's definitely worth the trip. And, I'm sure if you come up, there's a whole gang of us up here who will you'll have a whole crew who will come visit for sure.
Do you do snow sports too, or
no? I'm strictly summer kind of guy. And even so, I lived in Winnipeg, Manitoba, which is like notorious for its winter.
Mhm.
And I just hated the winter.
Yeah.
It gets down to like January, February is when it hits like minus 40 some days degrees Celsius. So
Yeah.
I think is it minus 40. That's the same in both. I think it might be.
It just sounds awful.
Yeah, it's just flat, super flat. So it's super windy. The university has
Right.
tunnels actually to like let you go between buildings without going outside.
Oh, wow.
So I moved to Vancouver. Like a huge reason was the winter there just is non-existent here. It snows for maybe like the snow will stay for like 2 weeks, and even then it'll be like 0 degrees Celsius.
Yeah. I'm from Pennsylvania originally, so it snows and stuff there during the winter, and I always joke around about that's why I came to California. It's like if I want snow, I drive to it, and when I'm done with it that day, I go home and it's gone. You know, like I don't have to wake up and scrape it off of my car or my windows. Like there'll be like maybe 1 or 2 times, 3 times a year that you walk out to your car here and there's like frost in the window and you're like, what's gone? This is horrible. What am I gonna do?
Yeah. I even get like sometimes like the winter here has rained, and I'm always like, well, California, just perpetual sun. That'd be nice. Yeah, but
there's definitely the sunshine tax down here, though, man. You pay for it. It's just like it's crazy expensive. I have some friends that do like real estate, and they're back east. Like one guy's in like Georgia, and he's like posting these like beautiful homes that cost like a quarter of what mine did. They're like 5 times as big. I'd be like, feel like I'd move in, like be like Scrooge McDuck over there or something like that. And like, here I am out here in California. And you're like, wow. But I don't know.
Same problem in Vancouver.
Yeah.
I don't think it's as bad as like San Francisco and the Bay Area. The Bay Area, especially with like, because all those companies paying salaries. But there's no way in any short time frame that we would be able to afford like a detached house anywhere in like the mainland. They're all over $1 million. Yes, our neighbor's house that's for sale here, it's just up for 1.2 million.
Wow, yeah, that's crazy.
That's not a nice house either.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's like some of the places down in the Bay. I know there were some houses down there. It's just like crappy old houses, and they're selling for close to that. And some cases, people were buying them, just knock the house down and build a new one. It's like you got to be kidding me, man.
When you got the money, I guess.
Yeah, right. Just freaking throw that shit around.
I've always wondered. I want to go find some people who have lived here long enough that like they bought their house and it was inexpensive, and now it's worth like millions or whatever. I just think if I was in that position, I'd be like, let's just sell the house and go like back to Northern Ontario.
Yeah.
Because with like $1.5 million, like $2 million, like some of these places are worth, like you could buy a mansion on the lake for like 7,000, and then you could take your other $1 million and just like chill. You could just retire and like do whatever you want.
There's a spot over here, like right in my neighborhood. It's called the Fab 40s. So the streets are numbered. So obviously the 40s. And there's some pretty big houses there. I mean, they're not like mansion big, but they're probably, somewhere between 3,000 and 5,000, 6,000 square feet, something like that. I mean, pretty big house, right? And I don't know what that is in metric. So I don't. Hopefully you follow me on the feet thing. So anyways, like my lady, her grandmother owned a house over there, like way back. And when she sold that house, she sold it for like $20,000, and they thought they were gonna steal. Like they were like, man, we made big money on this thing. And that house right now is probably worth close to $2 million. It's like insane to think about,
Yeah. It's getting weird for cities, and I'm hoping now with all this work from home that people are more willing to spread around the country, and so we don't have like these hot spots of real estate that just mean like
it'd be interesting to see how it changes things, man. I mean, we were talking before we were online about like, I think that or like you had said, that companies now that used to be afraid of letting people work from home are like, hey, no, this is okay. And I think that'll help with the talent pool too, man. You know, before there would be some guy that's like locked in Omaha, Nebraska that couldn't come work for your company, and now he can. You know, Mario says, "Come to Texas; it's way cheaper and hot." You know, I honestly have thought about moving to Texas a few times because my daughter is about to graduate from high school. So once she graduates from high school, then like me and the lady are like, "Hey, where do you want to go?" You know, like we could go wherever we want now, you know? And I was thinking about Texas, but man, I rode down in Austin. That was like pretty fun riding down in that area, but they just don't have the elevation loss that we have out here. And it's like, that's the one thing I'm used to, these like huge downhill sessions, you know, where it's like some of the guys that come out from Pennsylvania or whatever back east, you know, they come out and visit and they've never ridden downhill for 10 miles. You know what I mean? It's like, what are you talking about? You've never ridden down for 10. That's like what makes mountain biking like amazing. You know, like, I don't know. I'm sure you guys got some huge descents up there as well, huh?
Yeah. There's some pretty big ones here. So the normal, you know, the top of most mountains here is like 600 or 700 meters, which is, what's that in feet times 3? So that's like 2,500 feet. Like if you go up to some of the top trails, there's usually maybe there's some, you know, hidden ones a little higher
of descent though. That's what you're saying. Yeah, that's a lot of descent too.
Yeah,
because Downeyville is like over 14 miles, and I think it's like 5,000 or 6,000 feet, something like that.
Yeah, I think that's what Whistler is. If you go up to the lift, it's and then you can do there is a couple alpine trails too. You can do up there, and there's, if you want it, you know, you can grind up the hill for 3 hours for sure.
yeah, totally. It's, you know, it's just, I don't know. Riding is so different everywhere you go. It really is fun no matter where you're at. Honestly, like I know I could move to Texas, I'd still have fun. You know what I mean? Like
Austin has a pretty awesome BMX scene, which is like pretty cool. Pros there, like all at the skate park all the time. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. You follow a lot of BMX guys?
Yeah, like all the guys. Yeah, it's funny. When I first started BMXing, I felt like all the people I was following, they were all kind of either had just kind of turned pro or up and coming. And I was like, oh, you know, in another 2 or 3 years, there'll be like another grouping of them. But it's kind of like that just froze in time. So like the Chase Hawk, Dennis Anderson, these kind of pros. I followed them like 10 years ago, and they're still the
relevant
number one guys on Instagram and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, maybe that's
you ever watch Scottie Kramer's channel?
Yeah, I love his channel. His story. I always watch his injury updates because he's like, man,
it's insane.
I couldn't.
Those of you guys that don't know the guy that we're talking about, he's a BMX rider. He's got a really big channel. I think they're probably over 1 million, couple million or something like that.
Yeah,
it's huge. Anyways, he had an accident. Like he was like winning like X Games and stuff like that. Like he's like a badass rider, no joke. And he was out like riding some urban stuff with one of his buddies and just had an accident and like just messed his skull all up and had to learn how to walk and basically talk and do everything again. Now at this point, it's been a couple of years, and he's not back 100% to where he was, but he's like, you know, functioning, like walking and riding bike a little bit, but not anything like he was before.
Yeah, just the fact that he was like, they thought he was going to die.
Yeah,
and they were like, oh, you'll stay alive, but you'll never be able to walk. And now he just is such a like, I don't know, like athlete, like go for it kind of guy.
He's got a great person, like a very positive outlook on life too.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Yeah,
his like mental fortitude to handle that, and especially to go from where he was to just not being able to do it and like have to learn it. And in his last video, he was like jumping, or not jumping, but like he rolled into like a quarter pipe and and came out of one. And I was like, oh wow, like that's so crazy that
It's so cool too that his channel still like basically, because the way his channel was set up was like a bunch of his buddies, they would always be filming together and stuff like that, and they'd do like ride challenges or trick challenges and stuff like that. And so all the other guys that are on the channel have really still helped keep the channel going. So I think that's really cool, man. It's really cool how it's all worked out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's his channel is so crazy to watch. Just if you watch the first, even if you just watch the beginning and then you watch the most recent ones, that story is crazy. And it's really, I guess, like lucky for him that he had the channel to like, maybe that kept him kind of like, oh, like I'll just push through and I can keep the channel and stay in like the BMX industry kind of. And
right.
Yeah.
So why did you do a mountain bike channel instead of a BMX channel? I mean, you got a lot of BMX experience.
I had just, when I moved here, I just started mountain biking. I just went, and I was just more into mountain biking at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw there's a mosquito attacking me now.
Oh, it's all right.
And I just saw the videos, the YouTube videos online. I'd never filmed mountain biking really, and so I kind of wanted to share that just like on my own Instagram or whatever. And yeah, that's just how it started. And then once it started snowballing, I just stuck with it. But just I don't ride BMX nearly as much now. It's maybe I'm going to try and ride after this. Actually, I decided I'm going to skate park.
Yeah.
Maybe like 3 or 4 times a month I'll try to get out, just because there's so much mountain biking here. All my friends now like mountain bike. The BMX scene is having like a hard time. They really resisted like being mainstream, just too much. They just tried to keep it to like street and hash, and now like barely any people ride BMX. There's no shops in Vancouver that carry BMX stuff, which is weird.
Yeah, there was somebody I had on the show and we were talking about the same thing. And it was like when I was a kid, like you went to the bike shop and like that's what most of the bikes were BMX. And there now it's I don't even know where I could buy a BMX bike other than like a not BMX bike at like a Walmart. You know what I mean? Like,
so it turns out they're all direct to consumer. I just bought a new BMX because mine had a crack in it, and I was like, I don't even know what, like, there's no shops that carry anything. So I just went onto the website and I was like, oh, they sell them just from their website now. The biggest BMX website I noticed is shut down. It was called the Come Up BMX, which was like, they were just like curating videos, like just anytime someone would put up an edit, they would always just share it. Basically a place where you could find all the edits, because it was,
so they were kind of like the pink bike of BMX though.
Yeah, and then they weren't really producing their own content like Pink Bike is now. We're still staying with the curating stuff, and I think it just got to a point where, so the guy who runs it, Adam22, who's like a big YouTuber now, I'm guessing, because I didn't follow, but it just was kind of like, this BMX thing kind of, it's not worth the time to try and run this website and this big business, because now he does the No Jumper podcast and the YouTube channel and all that stuff. And yeah, he's even made it to like, I've seen him on like news stuff, like I think was it on Snapchat or something, because he just does like, what was the crazy thing that got him? His girlfriend's like not a porn star, but like has an OnlyFans or something, and he like vlogged like a threesome kind of like,
oh Lord,
like that. And yeah, and he does like, he'd been interviewing all these up and coming rappers and stuff, and like some of them actually ended up being pretty big, and yeah. So he was kind of the guy in BMX who was like curating content, and now that website's gone, and like Vital BMX is kind of, I don't think too many people visit it.
Yeah.
And then so many people, to me, maybe it felt like they were trying to keep it just away from anything mainstream. Like anyone who got a big sponsor, they would make fun of, like, oh, you're sponsored by Gatorade. Like, that's dumb.
Yeah. Right.
Which is funny, because when I would compete and I'd go down to Toronto, there are people who are sponsored by big companies now that I saw, like, they didn't win the AM contest. And I remember the dad overhearing like their conversation. It was like, you know what? Like, we're going to be like in the gym. Like, we'll figure out all the tricks you need to learn. Like, like, the same you'd see like in a hockey dad kind of thing. But about BMX. And he rides for a brand now that's like really like street kind of don't care vibe. It's just funny because I know for a fact that they like trained. Really hard. It's like, you can't admit it though. You can't be like, oh, I trained really hard and I tried really hard.
You got to pretend like you're like, no, I was just smoking pot on the couch all day, and now I'm out here just throwing these crazy tricks down.
Yeah, you got it. And that's how mountain biking was.
Yeah.
Like, if you remember, like, the New World Disorder days, but that kind of all went away. And I know there's a couple meme pages that really make fun of this kind of stuff, but like, now there's way more trail systems and way more awesome bikes because it's become way more mainstream, and dads and whatever and moms and kids are all buying bikes. And even
you think that's what's to blame for BMX like falling apart is mountain bikes?
That could be it too. Like, just that mountain biking became kind of like, it was cool enough for the kids to do. Like, you can jump and do tricks, but also like your dad could buy a bike and like too. Like, everyone can do it, and like
and then they start making these, like trail systems and stuff like that. Like what you're saying, when I first started in the 90s, I mean, the only place like where we rode was like places in Pennsylvania. What they had was called rails to trails. So it would be like where they like tore up old railroad tracks, and then basically people would hike them or bike them or whatever. You could do that. Any hiking trail you could ride on, because there was no rule that said you couldn't, and so like we didn't really have the kind of like trail systems or even the equipment that really could handle some of the stuff that we have now. It's like, I couldn't imagine trying to do some of the rides that I do now on my 1993 completely rigid giant ATX 760. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure there's probably some crazy Yahoo that could do it, but like, I wouldn't want to,
Yeah, now it's going to get even more interesting with e-bikes, and even I wonder if it'll be more like the appeal will become more broad. And then, I have no idea what's going to happen to it, but
well, I mean, the e-bikes really take I know I'm going to get freaking toasted for this probably, but I mean, it takes the level of fitness that you need to ride away.
Oh yeah, way down.
Like, you know what I mean? Like way down, way down. Like so. And you could say that a park would do that too. I mean, you could ride a lift up and you could be like lazy and have no cardio and still be able to do a park, or a shuttle run or something like that. But I mean, there's lots of places that don't have parks and don't have shuttle runs, so it's like, where are you you're going to do an XC ride. Now you can, your buddy that's not fit can come with you, like.
Yeah, I definitely don't have anything against people riding e-bikes. I do like them. Like, when I get on one, it's like, it's fun to cruise around for sure. The reason I haven't bought one yet, though, is it's almost like the climbing aspect and like the fitness aspect is hard, and I think it's good for me to do something that I like. I don't really love doing. Like, it's hard, and I need to do it, and I think it's good to try and stay in shape. And
I love riding bikes, and the only thing that's keeping me from buying an e-bike is money. And I don't think that it would change me as a rider, though, from what you were just talking about. I mean, like this week, dude, I've been like doing like during the week, Monday through Friday, I'm doing like 20 miles a day on my road bike. I rode up in Tahoe yesterday. I rode again today. Like, I feel like an e-bike would just be like another tool. Like I have my enduro bike, I have my hardtail, and then I have my e-bike, and it would be like that day when it's 95 degrees out and it's like 4:00 and I want to go ride, and I'm like, screw that, dude, I'm not climbing up that hill at this, but on the e-bike I'd be like, maybe I'll go do a couple laps, you know what I mean? Like, so I don't know.
I was just gonna say that's exactly why I would want one too. Just the days where you like kind of don't really want to ride, but like you could. The other thing too is like we have some spots where it's like that will shuttle, and like you just spend so much time like resetting trucks and driving back up, and like the amount of time that we spend driving back up and down the hill, if we were on e-bikes, we could just ride, and we'd probably get more laps in than we did in our trucks, and that's where like the appeal is for me as well, where it's like, well, that would be sick,
or just doing some like monster mileage freaking ride that I would never do. I ran into this other YouTuber. His name's the Colorado Kid. Actually is, I guess, high school buddies with BKXE. And I ran into him up in Downeyville, and they were like renting e-bikes. It was like their video idea. They put in like 8,000 feet of climbing that day. Like, there's no way. Like, I think my biggest day of climbing ever might have been like 4,000 feet, which is a huge day. You know what I mean? Like, especially for somebody that's like mostly a weekend warrior. You know what I mean? Like that is just insane to think about climbing 8,000 feet on a mountain bike in like a mountainous area, not like, like, oh, let's do this nice and slow and gradually. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah. Basically, I've got maybe too many bikes already. But yeah, if I could just have an e-bike right now, I would take one.
Yeah, totally.
And I can't remember who told me this, but Santa Cruz said, maybe it was an interview they did. It was like in 5 years, like 45% of the bikes they make will be e-bikes.
I heard this too.
Yeah, I think that's probably accurate. And the one thing I don't like, I really didn't like this coming from BMX to mountain bikes, is how much more the bikes get so much more complicated. So with the BMX, like, I just didn't need to care about it. Like, I don't even have brakes. Like, it literally is single speed, small, tough wheels, no brakes. It's super simple. I can throw it around. I don't need to care about it.
Yeah.
And I got a carbon enduro bike, and all of a sudden I got to care about the suspension and the bearings and all this stuff. And the chain. I got to clean it. And then now you have a motor in there, and you have electronics and the battery, and it's like, oh boy, now you got to maintain that kind of stuff. And then getting into like the motor maintenance and batteries and like all that kind of stuff is like a whole nother level. That part I don't like. And hopefully when I get an e-bike, I'll be rich enough just to go, here you go, bike shop.
Right. The bike shop's going to be like, end up being like the freaking car dealership too. You're going to go in, you're going to be like, man, they got me for another $800, like,
well, that's how it can already feel. Like some of the stuff, I have to bring my shock into the suspension place because the damper's gone, and like it's all specialty tools, and like I literally just couldn't do it. They're just, and it's gonna, I think the bleed or whatever for the damper is gonna be $200, and then if they replace some seals and do this other stuff,
you start looking at it, and
you
start looking at it. Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. I mean, they're like, my suspension on the Bronson is like long overdue, needing to be rehauled, and I was just thinking the same thing as what you just said. I was like, well, it's going to cost me this, and this. How much would it cost me for a new fork and a new shock? Like, I don't know. We'll see what happens. And plus being a YouTuber helps, I can get a little bit of discount, so, but even if I wasn't, I mean, you could get some stuff. I just bought a brand new Takeoff Fox 34 what's the factory fork for my lady's bike that I was building. I got it for like $500. It was brand new. It was never even used. That's maybe that's $1,000. I don't know, probably something close to that normal. Like, you can find really good parts used too, or on the resale market. So it's like, I mean, between that, say I used a fork like that and got a good deal on a shock that was, last season or something like that, with a half decent air shock at the most is going to be, $300 or something like that. It's like $800 there. You got a whole new brand new suspension set instead of spending like $5 and some change getting my old stuff redone.
Yeah. And even like, so usually what I try to do is I'll sell my bikes pretty much every year and buy a new bike. Partially because I like switching it up and I just love new bikes and all that kind of stuff. But then it just saves me from doing that like big overhaul full on service. And I'll sell my bikes for a pretty good deal, and then I'll just get a new one. Because like, if
when your brakes wear out in your car, you're like, day.
I mean, if you look like at, I almost there's some parts I want, and I was like, oh, it'd be cool to have like the Kashima Fox 36 with the grip 2, blah blah blah. And I was like, man, I could just buy like this last year's YT Capra that's on sale. Just like it's almost just cheaper than buying the parts.
Yeah.
Like especially, and then even from shops, now they're all sold out, but before bikes went crazy, there was some just amazing deals that had good parts and stuff like that. Like, if you look for a deal,
right, you could buy that YT Capra, take the fork off that you wanted, put it on your bike, take your old fork, put it on the YT Capra, turn around, sell it, and then be like break even.
Almost.
Totally.
I was looking at my downhill bike. I was like, oh no, like I've got to start servicing stuff. And then I just was going on like YT's outlet store, being like, I want carbon wheels for the downhill bike now, and I want like, the better X2 shock. Like, maybe I can get them to sell me the downhill, but like the new 2S, or the last year's 2S for a little cheaper, and come out, not, maybe if I spent, I ended up spending $1,500 to do a bike swap, as opposed to spending $1,000 on fixing. It's kind of like $500.
Yeah, I've been like itching for a new bike. I just built a brand new hardtail, but of course, how upgrade-itis goes. You just always want something new, right? So I've been thinking about getting a new enduro bike, and I buy stuff used a lot, and I was like, man, I could pick up this used bike. My buddy's been like really looking for some like Santa Cruz carbon or some carbon wheels. I'm like, so if I bought this bike, I don't need the wheels. I could sell the wheels to my buddy. I could sell my Bronson, and then I'm up like maybe I need to come up with like $1,000, and I have a brand new bike. I'm like, well, that's not that bad, like gets you thinking. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Do you buy used or always new?
Lately, yeah. Well, I worked at a shop, so pretty much always new.
So you're getting like industry pricing then.
Yeah, so when I worked at the shop, what did I buy? So I bought Norco Range. They give you like a little bit of deal off cost. Giant gives you a really good deal. If you work at a shop, it's like 20% off cost, and they're already priced. Like you could buy the Giant Rain 2 or Rain 1, just one down from the top model, which retails at 5,600 Canadian, but it has like the Grip 2 Fox 36 and the nice X2 and like the best codes. And if you worked at a shop and then you got, the 20% off, it's like my friend bought one and it was like, I don't know, like 3,300 Canadian after tax.
Oh, wow. Yeah. It's a really good deal.
Yeah. When he sells it, he actually might make some money.
Yeah.
And it's, there's definitely some ways to afford. A big one is people always ask how to afford bikes and stuff. Probably the biggest trick you could do is work at a shop like once a week.
Yeah.
If you're like, maybe there's the winter and you want a new bike for next summer, try and work at a shop once a week, build bikes or whatever. And I want they'll probably give you the staff discount after, a month or whatever, 6 weeks of working there.
Right. And
that alone saves you the $2,000 or whatever.
Or you could like pour your life into YouTube for a couple of years, and then you might be able to get it.
That's it. Yeah. People are funny. I actually, I get that question a lot about because I have especially because I have the S-Works frame now because it got warranted. Just looks like I'm a super baller,
right?
With my fancy S-Works. So there's a few things that I think people like kind of project, when they see that. The first thing is I think they assume that then everything that I buy is like at that level. Yeah. Where the reality is I've just sunk absolutely all my money. It's like our car is 9 years old now, and we share one, and then my dad actually gave me a car, which sounds like, oh wow, you got a car for free, but it was because he got it for free, and he's a mechanic, and it was like a 1982 Volkswagen Golf 2 that when you pushed on the gas, you could feel the engine block kind of like shift because all the bolts are pouring down, and the windshield wiper would shoot off the, shoot off the side. That's awesome. The air conditioning didn't work. Sometimes if it was summer, you had to turn the heat on because the engine would overheat, and you needed hot air. I've
had one of those before.
And I drove that for as long as I could so I could buy bikes. And And yeah, I just 99% of my money goes into bikes. And I had this kid message me, and he asked, like, how do you afford bikes and stuff like that? And I was like, well, when I was your age, I got a job washing dishes, and it sucked, but like that's how I bought my bikes and stuff.
Yeah.
And he just said, oh, like, I'm not going to spend my summer washing dishes.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess you don't want it too bad.
I guess you don't want a bike that bad.
Yeah.
I know my first Mongoose, the BMX, like that was my really good BMX that I bought when I was young. And dude, I busted my ass for that bike. I remember I had it on like a layaway at the bike shop, you know, and I would come in and give them like $5 a week or something, or 10, you know what I mean? Like whatever it was, until like I bought that thing, dude. And when I got it, man, I was so stoked, man, you know, and like, you have to put the work in, man, if you want the stuff. And it's the same way now. I mean, it's like, it's no different. It's not like I'm pooping out $5,000 to go pick up a carbon bike whenever I feel like it. I got a great job. You know what I mean? But $5,000's not cheap. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's a tricky one. I know Joe gets a lot of comments because he's always talking about budget bikes and stuff. And yeah, that's a sensitive topic for a lot of people. And I think one thing people don't maybe realize is how much better bikes have gotten, especially like a bike from 10 years ago that was $5,000 is just terrible now. Like I would much rather buy like $1,000 hardtail than a $5,000 full suspension now.
You know, like, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say they've come down. Like the quality has come down in price, just like cameras. You know?
Yeah. When I first started my channel, I had a 2006 Cannondale Prophet, and I had like upgraded all the parts on it, and the geometry on it wasn't too bad. But I remember, like, to me, I always was like, dude, I got brand new, like the drivetrain's the same as the new bikes. It's a one by. I got, you know, like good wheels and all this and that, and I just didn't realize, like, when I bought my Bronson, like how different, like just the little tweaks in geometry, like how different it made the bike, you know. And I completely agree with you, like, but I think if you're in a spot that you want a decent bike and you don't have a lot of money, like, definitely go used, man. I mean, you can pick up a bike that's a couple years old and like save a ton of money. And sometimes you can pick up a bike that's only a year old, just from like the guy that you were just talking about. Like the dude already got it at 50% of cost anyway. You know what I mean? So he's selling it for almost probably the same price that he bought it for, which is still a screaming deal. The dude took care of it, like Invisiframe, you know, did, or whatever, like took care of it because he knew he was selling it in 6 months. You know what I mean? So it looks like it's brand new. It's just got some, you know, it's just been worn a little bit, you know? And
yeah. I've actually thought about doing a video just on how to like afford some bikes that you're trying to save up for. And I think, I mean, I just see the comment so often about that people can't afford it, which totally, you know, they are expensive, and there's, you know, lots of cases where it just is really, really, really hard. But yeah, there's always, you know, maybe some way, like, hopefully, and even though I said I would rather ride a new bike, there are bikes that are 10 years old which you could totally ride. Like I rode my first ride in Whistler, I borrowed a 2007 Shore 3, I think it was, and that was awesome. Like that's how I like, and that was 4 years ago, so it was 10 years old at the time. And I had a great time. And then once I got a new bike, I was like, oh,
I can tell you too, they're like, I wouldn't have thought this a while back, you know, would have kind of, how would I say this? In the past, I wouldn't have given the same advice. Let's say it that way. A hardtail is crazy fun to ride. Like crazy fun to ride. And the geometries of these new ones now, I mean, you can spend $1,000 and get a hardtail that you can upgrade the parts, and you will have so much fun. And let me tell you right now, like, you will be able to do all the same runs as your other buddies with their full suspension bike, you're just gonna have more skill. Like I was telling you, I don't know if that were we on the air or not when I was telling you about doing that PR run here locally. Yeah. So like for those of you guys that weren't in the garage with us beforehand, I was telling them about how I made this bet on this local trail with a friend of mine about who could get down the fastest, to make a long story short. And so we just started really like doing this trail over and over again. And my times that I get now are like, if you're looking at Strava, like I'm always in the top 10 for the day. And my fastest time down that trail is tied on the Bronson with my time on my Chameleon hardtail. Like it's the exact same time. And it's not like, okay, this trail is not like crazy chunky. It's not like, some like insane chunk. But it's a pretty decent trail. I mean, like compared to like most people come there and ride that and are like, holy shit, dude, this is mountain biking. You know what I mean? Like for some of us that ride a lot, you might hit it and be like, okay, that's a little chunky XC trail. You know what I mean? But it's no joke, And so that hardtail is really like, it's changed my outlook on things a lot.
Yeah, I'm actually I want a hardtail now because I think I'm getting a little too lazy with my technique.
Yeah.
I never really rode a hardtail when like trail riding. Like I just went the BMX to an enduro bike.
Yeah.
And now I'm kind of going like, well, I should probably get back on the hardtail because I ride with two guys who ride hardtails who they both just ride faster than me. Like I'm on a big full suspension bike and they're on their hardtails with like 140 mil forks.
Yeah. That's what I got on mine.
And they're going faster, like on the shore too, which is just the jankiest, rocky, like chunk.
It just really teaches you how to pick your lines. I think that's the one big thing. And at the end of the day, like with droppers, I mean, I got 170 mil dropper on my freaking hardtail. So the amount of suspension that I have in my legs between the pedals and my bike is a lot. You know what I mean? So I definitely got my the same as my 150 on my Bronson. I'm just using my legs. You know what I mean? And yeah, you have to hit stuff a little differently. It's not like you can be lazy on a hardtail and just like it doesn't make up stuff for you. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't make up for mistakes.
It's less forgiving. I was actually saying that when I ride my BMX and I even just jump off a curb, it feels smoother, like just on my BMX than on my big bikes. Like it's hard to explain the feeling.
Yeah.
But even though there's no suspension, I have like so much more feeling for just a fork and back end.
I wonder what that is. Like, is it like
my legs
something?
Like, huh? I think like you said, I'm just using my legs more and just letting it be smooth. Whereas just immediately once I get on the mountain bike, I'm like, okay, suspension is doing all the work.
That was part of the reason that I bought my hardtail was I wanted to work on some stuff that I used to do like BMX wise that I don't do anymore, like endos and stupid shit like that. I just don't do that on my full suspension bike. And I wanted to try to learn how to wheelie or something like that. And now I just lost my train of thought. What were you saying a second ago?
Just like that it's smoother to jump off a curb.
Yeah. Oh, now I remember what it was. That was insane. Thank you. And the other thing though too was that like some of those trails that are around the house, I've ridden them 500 times at this point, or like maybe even more. I don't even know. And so whenever I got my hardtail, it was like, okay, it was making all those trails new again. It was like when I started night riding for the first time. It was like all of a sudden this trail that I know like the back of my hand is not that same trail anymore. And that was really fun. That's really fun. Plus it's cool to talk shit to people when you like beat them on a hardtail.
Yeah, if you go faster than them, then you can be like, see, I'm faster. Right. If they go faster, you can just say, well, I'm on a hardtail.
Yeah, exactly.
They can't win that,
Right.
I really want one. I'm hoping maybe the winter I can get like a winter bike and just have a good hardtail. That'd be really awesome. And then just let it,
It's definitely been a lot of fun, man. It's definitely way more fun than I thought it was going to be when I bought the bike. Honestly, when I bought the first Chameleon, I bought it. Some of the reasons I was just talking about, and some of it was like just for the channel. I was like, oh, well, I'll buy this the entry level build, and then I'll like show people how you can like build it up and like upgrade parts and whatever. And it'll be nice to have another bike that if the Bronson's getting worked on or something screwed up, like the wheels getting rebuilt or something, then I got something else to ride. And all of a sudden it was like, then the Bronson was just like hanging on the wall, and I was just taking that hardtail everywhere,
Mm-hmm. You're just making me want a hardtail more.
You should do it, dude. I'm like preaching to everybody about it. I'm like, one of my buddies is talking about buying a new bike right now, and he's like looking at other bikes that are similar to what he has right now. And I'm like, no, dude, I'm telling you, get a hardtail. You're going to understand once you start riding it, like instantly that's the bike that you're going to want to grab all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like there's like that Norco Torrent, like their best Torrent with like with the sick parts on it is like $3,000 Canadian.
Uh-huh.
But with like I think it's got a better fork than on my Enduro, and then the same brakes, like wheels, all that good parts. And then, just because you're not paying for that rear suspension, you're saving like a ton of money.
Yeah.
No shock, no linkages.
Right.
Like, and now, I'm just looking at them thinking like, I like that.
You should do it. You should totally do it, man.
And Josh too. So Josh, daily MTB ride.
Oh yeah.
And he's got
Is he on the he's on the hardtail kick right now too?
So I know he does love a good hardtail, and those riding a hardtail at Whistler videos. That's the dream.
Right.
Clickbait is just.
Yeah. That's the one. I'm going to do that one down here on Downeyville. I was going to take it. I went up to Downeyville a couple weeks ago. Maybe it was a month ago at this point with some buddies, and I was going to take it, and I was like going with a big group. So I was like, man, in case it sucks really bad, like I don't want to be holding all these people up. So I didn't take it, but my my lady's getting back into mountain biking. She was out of it for a while. So I've been having fun, like taking her places. So I think whenever I take her up there, because we'll be going at a little slower pace, then I can take it and be like, all right, I'll be able to hang. It'll be fun.
Yeah, that was kind of my plan too, where I was like, oh, if I buy a hardtail, then, my girlfriend can ride it. It can be her bike. We're the same weight. And so I'd just buy, a large. It'd be our bike.
Yeah.
Or her bike.
I tried that with my lady, because what I would do is I would ride my Chameleon, and then I would just let her ride the Bronson, because whenever she got somebody T-boned her in her car a few years ago, and when that happened, it kind of screwed her back up, and basically from that point she just stopped mountain biking, and slowly she got back into road, and the mountain biking just wasn't coming back, and so we had sold her mountain bike, and then I got the hardtail, and I would ride that because we're pretty close to the same height. I mean, I'm 6'2", she's 5'11", so we're both riding the same frames. And it didn't work very long, dude. Like at the end of the day, like people just want their own bike. So what's going to happen if you try that? You're going to end up having to buy two bikes.
Yeah.
I'm just filling in, dude. This is my life experience that I got. I'm kicking down the wisdom here, man.
Yeah, we live in a basement suite, and I can like my bikes are just encroaching more and more into we don't have.
They'd be like, Nick, why did you buy a house? Just so I could have more bike storage.
Yeah, like a garage, like of some sort, is definitely on the list of like things.
Yeah.
I've always just stored them inside because we just live in like a tiny little apartment. Yeah, we only. Yeah, it's pretty much just one room. Like we have our living / kitchen / dining room,
like a big studio
/ bike room.
Right on, man.
And it's mostly bikes right now.
Hey, there's no problem with that, man. I think the only problem with that is there should be one more.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, there's room.
There's definitely room. I mean, you just got to be a little more creative with how you store them, man.
Yeah, a little more.
Yeah, I got to a point in my garage where I was like, okay, I either need to sell one or something else needs to happen. And then I didn't realize that what something else was. My son graduated from high school and he moved out, and then there was an extra bike spot on the wall, and I was like, boom, this is awesome.
Yeah, there you go.
I didn't even know that could happen. So I saw one of your videos. You had a thing, is 29er too big? And you said in the very beginning of the video that you were planning on like bitching about 29er wheels being not good, and halfway through the video you changed your mind. Where are you at now?
You know, I'm not sure. It's because there's so much variety of riding here. Like if I just had one bike and I was riding like Whistler, but I also wanted to ride the trails around here, I'd probably go with something like the Enduro, like a 29er do it all kind of bike, because it literally is like you can just ride it anywhere, and it pedals fine, and it's a big bike still, so you can ride it in the park. But I have my 2S now, which is 27.5 downhill bike, and I do like that a lot. There's no part of me that wants a 29er downhill bike, and you don't even see them at the park. Like maybe some of the racers have 29er downhill bikes, but there just is. The geometry and the suspension there's so much of it. Like I
want to hear. So what is it about 29er that you're hesitant about?
I definitely have more trouble cornering and just tight spots. Just getting the bike around. We have a lot of like really janky trails here, like riding on the skinnies. So we rode some really crazy skinnies yesterday that are like, this guy's just bored and built like some super legit old school North Shore skinnies. And they were super technical, and getting up and around and maneuvering on them with such a big bike was definitely kind of tricky. And there's some trails here that I ride pretty often that are janky, and the 27.5 just feels a little better on it. Just moving the bike around and cornering feels a little easier.
Do you think that the BMX background has anything to do with that?
It could be, just like I'm so used to a small bike.
Because I even ride a smaller frame normally than what I should. And I always attribute that to like growing up riding BMX. Yeah,
that too. I had Norco lent me 2 bikes. I took an extra large in the optic and a large in the sight, and I'm in between. And I think even a little bit more into the large side or the extra large side. And I rode the extra large, and I was like, "This is just too big. Like it's just too much."
Every time I like talk myself into getting the extra large instead of the large, I end up like going back to the large.
Yeah, because even the larges are big now. The larges are old extra larges.
My Chameleon, my first one I got in large, and then my second one, I was like, well, I'm gonna try the extra large just to see if it's a little longer, like I'll like it better. And now all I'm doing is thinking maybe I should have just got the large.
Yeah, like I could probably size down. I'm in the S4 for the Enduro, which is like their large, I guess, which is a 485 mil reach, which is pretty long. I think I'd prefer something a little shorter, or at least I'm also thinking about getting a shorter travel bike, like something all mountain, like kind of like, I liked the sight a lot. It's like 160, 150 instead of 170, 170. And I felt that was quite a bit more nimble. Like, and even though it was 29er, I felt I could like kind of just.
You said the sight?
Yeah. So
I rode the sight up in Idaho earlier this year. No, it was last year. I rode it. It was a pretty fun bike. It's still like, I guess I'm gonna have to, the way I feel about 29ers is like, they're definitely getting way better at like how snappy they are, but I just don't feel like they're as snappy as a 27.5.
No.
And like, especially if you're in very chunky technical kind of riding, which is what I like doing the most. Like they just don't like, I always say it this way. Like, I feel like they pick the line a little bit more than you do, and I don't like that, so when I rode that sight, I just remember when I was on the video, I remember saying like, it feels really good. I can move it around really well. Like I'm really impressed for a 29er. This is sick, but it still doesn't feel like I'm not crazy about it,
Yeah, I'm not sure what my next bike will be. I'm kind of tempted to go back to 27.5.
Yeah.
I just I'm gonna probably try and demo one just to double check before I commit.
Yeah.
But I like my downhill bike a lot, and it's 27.5. And yeah, I don't mind the 29. Yeah, you know, it's tricky because I don't want to blame my riding mistakes on the 29.
Yeah.
Or like any bike part or any setup or whatever. That's
Yeah.
like a trap that I always fall into. It's like, oh, my brakes aren't working today. That's why I can't ride. You know?
Right.
It's a tricky one. I think I'll have to demo it. Like when the time actually comes where I'm going to buy a new bike, I'll make a decision. But yeah, right now I'm still like, it's not obvious to me.
Yeah.
It's like, everyone.
If I couldn't get like it, if somebody was like, hey, whatever comes out of your mouth next is what you get for free, I would say e-bike. But if it was like, what would I buy next? Like right now, I really think I would buy a short travel 29er, like a really short travel, like maybe something that's like 130 up front, maybe 130 or 140 tops, you know, and then like just like a 120 in the back or something like that. And like, and the reason I say that is because I've had so much fun on the hardtail, but there's some rides where it's like, if I had a little bit of suspension, I would have took it on that trail, you know, just because otherwise, like my back would just be like dead, you know, like it would suck so bad. Like trails that are like, maybe they have a lot of baby heads on them. So it's just like chatter all the time. So like, if you're on a hardtail in that situation, you're out of the saddle the whole time. Or if you are sitting down, it's just like beating the crap out of your spine, you know? And so I feel like a short travel 29er would be perfect in those scenarios. And then that would be still fun in the XC type trails where like those bigger wheels would just be a lot more, like a lot of fun getting the speed and laying it over and the big turns and stuff like that. But, I don't know. I feel like that's what I would probably want to buy.
Yeah. It's hard to say. I'd have to go on another, you know, demo tour and try a bunch of bikes again.
Yeah.
It's I think, I mean, you know, comment sections would have you believe that it's super obvious that one of them's better, but
yeah, I don't buy it.
Yeah, I think I don't
think 27.5 isn't dead. I don't think 27.5 is dead.
No, I think the survey at the park still had the majority of people on 27.5, if I remember correctly. Even this year, I think 29er has been gaining popularity because more people bring their enduros,
right?
But yeah, you still saw, I think, mostly 27.5.
Even Santa Cruz says on their when they redid the 5010 just recently, and they call it 27.5, like the fun size wheel. You know, it's just like you can throw it around, you can whip it. You know, like it's just playful. You know,
yeah, and it. I'm surprised to see some companies like Specialized and Giant just doing away with it. Like, you know, Specialized doesn't make a 27.5-inch enduro. And I think Giant, now I don't remember, I don't think they make a 27.5-inch like new Rain anymore. I think it's just 29, or at least that's the one they're really pushing, is like the 29er is supposed to be the one.
Is it the Range or the Sight that they made into an e-bike?
So Norco made the Range and Sight into e-bikes.
Oh, both of them. Oh,
yeah. Okay. So I demoed the Range VLT, which is like, I really liked it. So it's 27.5, 180 in the front, 170 in the back, like big.
That is a huge bike.
Yeah, it's just a big monster, and it's pretty heavy. You know, it's an e-bike, but with the coil on it, like it's almost so stable. It's weird. Like you're almost more confident on it. I just remember plowing down stuff. I was like, whoa, this is like, it's weird. It's so stuck to the ground. And then
the extra weight.
Yeah, I think I'm going to demo the Sight VLT soon, as soon as I get some time here, just to try it out. Because I haven't really had an e-bike for any extended period of time. I would like one. And there's some videos I want to film that, like, I don't want to carry my camera like up the mountain. I just want to up, film, and come back down. So, I just want to try one.
Yeah. No, I haven't ridden one on the trail yet. I have a video in mind that I want to film, and I'm kind of like saving that experience for that. But if something comes up, if it comes up differently and I just get a chance to go ride one, I'd really like to. The only one that I've ridden was like I was at a Norco demo day, and it wasn't even a mountain bike. It was just like an touring bike that they had in the truck, and they were like, "Yeah, just try it. Go up this hill." And I just jumped, and it was like nuts to me. Like, holy crap! Like, I'm going up this hill like at like 15 miles an hour, and I'm like barely putting any effort into it. Like, I didn't have to be on the trail to know how it would feel on the trail. You know what I mean? It was like, this will like change my mind. Like maybe if I did buy an e-bike, maybe what I said earlier is like moot. Maybe once you start riding it, you're like, dude, I don't even care.
I'm still, I need to like sit down and just like really think about it. It's because it's, I know I want one, but like, do I want to go down that path? And then
what's it do to you?
I'm not sure. And then my style of riding and the trails I ride, like I really like janky trails, and I like to ride the skinny sometimes, and sometimes having a big e-bike, that might be kind of weird. But I don't actually know, because I haven't ridden the e-bikes on those trails yet. So
right.
That's what I'll do with the demo.
I think that the thing that's going to make it hard to like not be riding one all the time is whenever they come down and weight so much that they're like the same. Like they're going to figure out those batteries. They're going to figure it out. They're going to make the engine smaller. It's going to look more and more like a regular bike, and it's going to get down, even that, what is that? I think it's a Specialized. The Levo is like 37 pounds.
Yeah. It's like that's what my bike weighs.
Right. Right. I think my Bronson's like 33 or something like that, so I mean, put a freaking water bottle in it or something like that and it weighs the same. Like that's not much.
Especially that Specialized. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Where it's like the weight is so close that probably, I wonder if you could even tell. Like,
I don't even know, like if you want it that way though. Like that's the other end of it to me too, is like, well, maybe part of the fun of the e-bike is the fact that it weighs more and it's planted and it like feels amazing in the turns because of that. Like it's like kind of like a moto then, it's like a little more heavy, so it's like sticking to the ground better. I don't know. Who knows? I guess we'll find out in the next few years, right?
Yeah, and especially the type of bike, like the range is like it's basically a downhill bike, like with a motor on it. I'd actually like to try that Specialized, like that one with the dual crowns.
Yeah.
The Kenevo, I think it's called. Downhill bike with a dropper and a motor on it.
Right.
There's not really any difference between like that and a lift. Like I love the Park, but I still have that like it's almost like it's like morally questionable to ride an e-bike, but it isn't. It's like it makes sense in my head, but you're still, no matter what someone says or no matter how logical it seems, you're still kind of like, I don't know.
It's an interesting time. I read this article in like a Mountain Bike Action or something like that, and the guy was writing it, and he was talking about, they were down in SoCal or something like that, and they were getting this shuttle up to this spot, and there's all these guys or a handful of guys like getting ready to ride in their e-bikes, and that they were kind of scoffing at them. Look at those guys over there, those e-bikes and cheaters or whatever, all the like typical stuff. And then he's like getting in this van to like drive to the top of the hill, and he starts thinking about it. He's like, well, these guys are pedaling. Like they're more of a biker than I am right now. Like it's just like, I never really thought about that. You know what I mean? Like there's different ways that you can look at it. It's definitely it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, especially with the trail, like the ability to ride on what trails. And there's already trails that are like posting no e-bikes, and people are doing it anyway. So what does that end up doing? Like
Yeah. So I guess there in California, the land laws are even more serious than they are here.
Yeah, they like laws in California. We like make laws for laws here.
Yeah, because I think it was like Mo and Hannah talked about it, and I see like that, mountain biking is an illegal kind of like shirts and stuff, which is super weird. That's like a whole nother level. So back in Ontario, there's no one around, like in Northern Ontario. You could just they go build trails in the bush, like
Right.
just no one, you just could not find anyone who cares.
Right.
They're just not going to care. Literally pretty much anywhere you could build. And then you come
Right.
to Vancouver and it's a little more serious. Like, you can build illegal trails, but it's pretty frowned upon from like a city point of view. They do have no e-bike signs on my local mountain right outside my door here, but on the shore it's allowed. And it's a little more, there's a little more bureaucracy. But then, maybe you can tell me about California. It seems like I feel like isn't there like fines and stuff, and the conservation officers are out there like looking for people.
It's crazy though, man. It's like some of the areas that it's like the perfect example is UC. So that's University of California, Santa Cruz, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like right by like some of the big bike brands, right? Like Santa Cruz, like I think Specialized is down there too. Like some of their like promo videos are like shot on these trails, right? So like, but then like everybody like is like, oh man, don't film those trails. You can't let anybody know where they are. It's like, dude, the parking lot where people are riding from is full of trucks with freaking tailgate pads on them and roof racks. Like there's no way that like people don't know what's going on. And for the most part, all those people are riding those trails like 7 days a week. And then it seems like certain days, like rangers will just go out and start handing out tickets to people. And it's like, I don't understand it. I really don't understand it when you have, like, I feel like it's just a liability thing, you know?
Yeah. You mean they just, some lawyer somewhere is advising them, like, oh, someone gets hurt, they're going to sue you and then you'll be poor. That's the same thing with, I know skateboarders and even BMX, like when you're riding street, the number one thing they always say is like, oh, if you get hurt here, you'll sue us, blah, blah, blah. And I remember a lawyer like tweeted this or something. It was like, that has never happened. There's not a single case of someone doing an extreme sport and suing like a building. It just hasn't happened. And it just is like this is, this, what do you call it when they just state this fact to get out of like,
there's other areas too, like where I was riding yesterday up in Tahoe. There's a pretty extensive trail network that's all illegal. And but like once again, it's like tons of trucks driving up and down that hill all freaking day long. And there's like every 35 feet, there's a sign posted on a tree that says trespassing. No, you know what I mean? But it's like tire tracks everywhere. I mean, not saying that's okay, but it's I feel like the only reason those signs are up are for like litigation. So when somebody gets hurt, they're like, look, you're not supposed to be riding there. There's signs like every 25 feet.
Yeah.
Like
that's almost the best. That's like the best case scenario almost, where you're like, it's almost like if you're going to ride there, you're signing like a liability waiver just by doing it. And if they're okay with it, it's like, that's what you want to do. Then that's like, what really grinds my gears is like, they shut down some trails here on like the lower part of the mountain. And, they do these conservation studies and they're like, oh, the mountain bike trails ruining the environment, so on and so forth. And, like I've read through their documentation and stuff, and it's kind of like, I don't know. I just find their methods pretty suspect, but but the weird part is okay, they'll do that, right? They'll shut down a mountain bike trail, which I mean, if they left it for a year, it would just be gone. Like it would just be absorbed.
Right.
By the mountain, and you're like, okay, maybe there's paths of animals that they're blocking. There's something there. And then they'll turn around, some
erosion or something like that. There's an argument to be had.
But then, so here's where it gets bad though. Is like 5 years later, all of a sudden that whole area will just be like, oh, it's housing now. Like plow it all down, pave it down, and you're like, wait a second, how like. you just said like
Yeah.
the trail was ruining the environment, and now you paved it for a parking lot.
Right.
And that stuff just grinds my gears. And then it's like, hey, come on.
You're using that logic too much, man. People don't like it when you do that, man.
Well, they just tore down. So this BMX dirt jumps, like really famous set in Vancouver called Cushwoods.
Mm-hmm.
It's been in the back, like on the other side of the mountain here, for 20 or 25 years, some long amount of time. It's been It's hidden in the woods. A really amazing dirt jump set. I'm pretty sure it was in drop-in. The BMXers have been running it forever. I think people come here to ride them.
Yeah.
And somehow someone stumbled upon them and told the city, and they're like, oh yeah, we have to tear them down. And they had taken a photo of like, they were using an old paint bucket to like water the jumps. And they're like, look at the chemicals being poured.
Oh yeah.
And so like they went in there and just plowed them down, and they're going to have to use there's so many jumps that are so big. Like they're going to have to use machinery to do it. And it's like, okay, it's been there for 20 plus years. It hasn't been a problem. And all of a sudden it's a problem. It's all just very like, it's almost like someone got the job and they've been looking for that big thing to, finally, make their mark.
Fun police are out and just freaking getting rid of all the fun.
Yeah, it's weird. It's super weird. And it's been a while since I've had this incident happen, but like every now and then, especially for watching BMX videos or skate videos, when like a random person stops to yell at skaters for like riding a ledge or even jumping downstairs, especially like when it's someone maybe who's like middle-aged, I'd always just love to ask them like, what do you think is going on here? And when you were a kid, like when you were 15, like if I showed you this scenario, like, did you imagine being this person? Like, being the person who goes up to the skaters and yells at them for jumping down the stairs, like, with the teenage self, like, would you want to be that person? And I honestly just have no idea, like, what they're thinking. It just is totally, because I know it, but
some people, man, I don't know, man, they just get crotchety. I was at the pharmacy the other day, and there was like a line that, like, if you got texted to come pick up your thing, that you could stand in that line, and then there was another line that was like people that are just walking in the door. And I think like maybe when they were less busy, they had the text sign in that other line too. And maybe when it got busy, they forgot to take that text sign down. And this guy was just like losing his shit on this poor lady, like, about, you guys shouldn't have the sign. There's people over here just wasting their whole life away standing in this line. And I'm like, good God, dude. Like, really, man? Like, I've been standing here for like 3 minutes. It's like not that bad, like, and then on the other hand, you really think that person that you're just losing on is like the person that's responsible for this? Like, I don't know. It's like the same thing where you're saying, like, those people that are just stopping to yell at some kids or something. It's like, I feel like I don't know. They're missing something in their life, Yeah.
And it's it's unfortunately more common than you'd hope, for sure.
Yeah, right.
I've never been I've never just been mad like that.
Yeah.
That's why when I see stuff like that, I just don't
I
get it. Like I just don't know what it's like to be that mad. Some people I know have like they're quick to anger and then quick to go back. And it's just, I've never been like that. So it's, I've been yelled at. I still remember when I worked at the bike shop, we always would give kids' bikes kickstands. But, the post office was on strike. So it took forever to get anything because they were delivering like once a month.
Right.
And we ran out of kickstands. And I just remember this like grandpa just yelling at me like that were a terrible business and all, that was all my fault and stuff. And I just like, I don't know how to make the kickstands come any faster. Like, I will call you as soon as they're in. Like, I know you bought them. And the funny part was, like, after he left and yelled and stuff, I was in the back and I was like, oh, there's like a kickstand hidden away. But like, he just left and yelled and I had no way to get a hold of him. I wasn't going to try too hard. So yeah, it just is. Some people just have a bad day, I guess.
Yeah, totally. You rode that really weird suspension bike recently. What's that called? The
Structure SCW1.
Yeah, what was that like, man? First of all, like, what were you thinking was going to be like before you got on it?
So I thought it was going to be really weird. Like, I thought I was going to notice that something was up.
Uh-huh.
But when you get on it, it doesn't feel too like it feels familiar for sure.
Yeah.
And the best way I can describe it is the front end feels like the way your rear suspension does, like,
Uh-huh.
but it's on the front, and it's like, when you roll up a curb or something, you hit a rock, your rear suspension kind of like moves up out of the way. Well, then you can do that with the front end on that bike, and it like moves up out of the way, and it's weird.
Yeah.
It's so you kind of expect to feel like a hit back towards you, but your front wheel kind of just like moves instead, and you're like, oh, that's like it smooths it out.
You think it's something that's going to catch on?
No, because of the looks.
Yeah.
I buy bikes like 90% based on looks.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
I saw the Enduro and I was like, that's a good looking bike, and I knew I was going to buy it without even riding it. Like, it just so happened to be a good bike. Like,
right.
But I hadn't seen the reviews or anything like that. I just was like, oh, it looks cool.
Yeah, man, I'm definitely one that's like color too. Like if it's not the right color, I'm like, I'll wait till next year.
Yeah,
definitely.
Let's see
what colors they have next year.
So I think this is one of those cases where you have like something that logically is better, but there's some subjective things about it that are just going to stop people. Like there's not really anything wrong with the telescoping fork. Like, it's not so bad that I'm like, oh man, this thing. And then you're adding a lot of complexity in the front end with a lot of linkage and bearings and more moving parts.
Have you ridden the Trust fork?
No, but I've heard it's similar.
I've ridden the Trust fork, and it sounds like what you're explaining. It's similar to that. I feel like there's something to be maybe there's like a smaller, less gaudy version that can come out. You know what I mean? Like they can incorporate some extra links or something to kind of do some of that. I think they might be onto something, but like, yeah, definitely the way that structure looks is like, I wouldn't buy it just because of the way it looks. Like, could you imagine rolling up to the trail like that? People would just be like,
it almost be good for YouTube. Like, if they were a big company and I was like, man, the clickbait on just every video, might be worth it. It rides like I liked it a lot. I would like if it was like, this is the only bike in existence, you have to ride this from now on. I'd be like, oh, okay, well, it rides debatably better than my bike.
Yeah. So, with that Trust, it felt like I was on a rigid fork until I needed it not to be rigid.
Yeah, that's a good way. It didn't feel so. I felt like the travel was very like vertical. Like I was just going up and down as opposed to like in and out, especially on a stock bike. And
it really screwed me up when I tried to bunny hop too, because I tried to preload, or you know what I mean, and like
and it like kind of doesn't resist.
Yeah, it was like, no, I'm not doing that. That's what are you doing that for? And I was like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah, it's they might have a niche market, like they might be able to sell some and keep the company going because it's a cool like.
Yeah, I heard they were pretty close to going out of business with all the COVID stuff and whatnot.
Yeah, it's a hard sell. Like,
I feel like somebody's going to buy them.
Yeah, and they've got a lot of exposure. I mean, on YouTube, because Jordan's video is like one of his most popular videos. Is just.
Are you talking about structure? I was talking about Trust.
Oh, yeah, that too.
But either way, yeah.
I think structure. I think they're newer, so they're still in the like development stage. But I think this is a do or die kind of point they're at.
I hadn't seen that bike until Jordan did his video.
Yeah,
that was the first time I heard of it.
That's how I saw it too. And that's at like 1 million+ views now. And
really,
the one I just posted is at 100,000, and it's actually gaining speed. So
man, I need to go get one. Where can I get one?
I know, right? You just gotta.
This is why I'm not at 50K, dude.
Yeah, you gotta clickbait bikes.
That's what I need. I definitely need a clickbait bike. I can't even say it. Maybe I should practice that first slowly.
So they're going to come out with, I think, a downhill bike and stuff like that. And if they can fix the looks, maybe they might have something. But it's a tough battle, especially going up against, what's out there now. Bikes are so good.
Could you still put that thing over a tailgate? It looked a little funky.
So tailgate, I think yes, but it acts like a dual crown, so you can't turn the bars all the way because bottom, it kind of is a dual crown.
Uh-huh.
You can't put it on the North Shore rack like that. Because the fork.
People are really funny about things that look silly, man. They just won't buy them. I tell you, I ran a lefty fork for a long time, and that fork was freaking awesome. It was a great fork, and so many people won't have nothing to do with it just because of the way it looked.
Yeah, weren't they like they were stiffer because it was dual crown and like
it was lighter too.
Yeah,
it was like this is a great fork, and they were running springs back when everybody was doing air, and it was like, dude, these are great, you know. Now everybody's like, hey, let's do some springs, you know.
Yeah, how things look is just so important that you can. So I think the Structure Cycle Works is mostly ran by engineers. And I think that is probably obvious, where it's like a super functional thing that works really well, but it kind of looks like
it's 100% logic.
Yeah, like it's all just things that work properly. And
I used to work at an engineering firm, and I definitely know what you're saying. The engineers are a certain type of breed of people, and you definitely have to rein them in sometimes. Like, no, guys, that's actually not like yes, that makes sense on paper, but that's not how people work.
How people I think a big thing for a lot of students, when you go from being an undergrad surrounded by other engineers and engineering students, and then you go to an office that's pretty big, and you have to interact with like marketing and IT and sales, and you're like, oh, like there's a different way to communicate that isn't just like, you know, beeps and boops and robots, you know? You got to act like a real human being every now and then. That's definitely true.
I know at the firm that I worked at, like the engineers that came in that were like really like personable and good talkers, you were like, oh, they're gonna go quick, they're gonna move quick, they're gonna, you know, it's because like they just, you know, that's not a personality trait that's real similar to a lot of the guys that I was at least working with. You know, most of the engineers, they want to go in their office and just bang away at whatever they're working on and turn out whatever they're supposed to be working on, and that's it, you know.
There's actually a problem in even just, I would say, like STEM academia that I've noticed, where you have to balance doing good research with selling yourself. And I've just seen cases where there's this big time researcher who's got all these like awards and all this stuff going on, and then like you meet them and you're like, this guy doesn't really know anything. What the heck's going on? And you're like, oh, he's a salesman who has a STEM degree. And but it really has paid off, like, because I've met other people who I'm like, oh, this is the smartest person I've ever met. And they published like one paper one time. And they just don't sell themselves and go to all these talks and try to write books and all that kind of stuff. And they just hide away in their office.
When I first got into IT, like that was the thing that got me a lot of jobs, because I was a good talker, and they would always be like, we're used to these guys that are like awkward and like say all this stuff that we have no clue what it is, and I could break it down in like layman's terms kind of thing, you know, and like give them like hypothetical situations so that they could understand what I was talking about, and didn't throw a bunch of big words at them. And it worked out well for me, you know. But now there's a bunch of guys that can do that, so now I don't stand out anymore.
I think I'm lucky with the friend group that I grew up with. Is all you know, they just like, they give you a hard time if you're ever being too weird or nerdy, and like definitely a lot of like peer pressure. Not peer pressure is maybe not the right word, but to be like kind of socially normal. Like I just have ran into other people especially, so it gets worse when you get into like the physics department, and then like it's a whole another level of worse when you get into the math department, where I've just met people who were like hyper focused on like school. And like they're the smartest people that I know, but it's like you couldn't like go have a beer with them. Like they never they had never gone to like the student group parties and like had, too many beers and done something crazy.
Right.
I only do this thing and I do it really well. And sometimes it ends up being okay because they're just so good at their job. But yeah, I always tried to like encourage them, like, oh, yeah, you should come out and like bring a bottle of vodka, like, and because like, so there was a kid that I was in physics with, who we had this contest, who could recite the most digits of pi.
Yeah.
And, pi, for people who don't know, it's irrational. It never ends, so there's an infinite amount of numbers after, and they're random.
I think everybody knows that. You don't think everybody knows that?
Well, they might not, and they're random.
I would hope so.
So basically, you're just saying just random numbers, as many as you can remember. They're in a certain order. Right. They're all random, and so I think the record was like 99 or something at the time, and he left the midterm early. So he wrote this midterm, like left early, and we're all like, oh, like, too hard for this market. Right.
Yeah, right.
No, like he left because he was done. And then he went to this contest and recited it. He was at like 450 digits or something, and the guy was just like, okay, you can stop. Like, you're so far past. And I was like, this guy. Really nice kid, super duper smart, but just sometimes hard to talk to and like kind of with, and just because I think he was homeschooled, and he just was so like that's all he'd ever known was like.
It reminds me of another meme I saw recently. It was like somebody's apartment door, and their apartment number was 314, and like somebody had like put numbers of pi like all the way down the door, like to the ground. It was pretty funny. Oh man, we're almost at 2 hours, dude. I want to ask you one thing. I've been asking a bunch of people at the end. I forgot there for a while. I wasn't doing it, but what other channels on YouTube do you watch other than mountain biking, or even mountain biking ones? What channels do you like to watch?
So now with mountain biking, it's like everyone who I know. Like there's so many channels now, it's hard to like prioritize them. It's become like in order of people I know. Right. And, like, the more I know them, the more I watch it.
Yeah, totally.
So like I have like my friends who I ride with, like Dale Stone has a channel where he does like, good quality, just high speed runs through trails. Like I watch him do it. My friend Dave, who's Dangerous Dave on Instagram. He's the guy who won that GoPro contest for like best line through all those skinnies and stuff last year.
Oh, sweet.
And then I watch like basically everyone for the most part, like everyone in our Slack group, pretty much again, in order of like from who I've met.
Yeah.
Like Eric's videos, and then Paul, and then Ryan, and like, it's a little easier when, like Alex isn't posting as often now. So it's like, okay, I can watch his one video.
Even Seth slowed down too.
Yeah, I know it's easier to keep up with Seth now because now he's doing Burn Peak. So I like the trail building stuff isn't like as up my alley. Like obviously they're amazing videos.
Yeah, they're fun to watch.
But yeah, so trail building, like it's not a hobby of mine right now. I do a lot of riding, so I prioritize riding stuff that gets me stoked to go ride a little more. So yeah, for mountain biking, all the usual suspects. I think like BCPOV. And
how about other than mountain biking? What do you like to watch?
So a channel I really like. There's a math channel called 3 Blue 1 Brown. He worked at Khan Academy for a long time, and then he does like these. He wrote his own program to like do these animations, and he explains like relatively high level math concepts with like, a lot of animations and a good explanation. And like he's got millions of subscribers and millions of views.
What was it called again?
3 Blue 1 Brown.
I'm gonna have to check that out. And what's the difference? What do you think that means?
Actually don't know. I should probably. I think it's if I remember right, there's like a statistics thing. It's like a statistics either joke or something.
Oh, okay. I get it.
But his videos are like they're pretty heavy at times, and I like to watch them because I fall into that trap a lot of times where I know how to use something like some type of math, but I'm like I don't really know what that means. Like if someone, like I couldn't explain it, I just know like in this case I do this thing and I get the answer. So I like that, and then I watch like Dunkey for video games. He just does like funny, like he just play like Rocket League and like talk smack with his friends and stuff, or play some weird random games.
Yeah.
And then let's see. So EEV blog. He's like an electrical engineer from Australia. Just a funny guy. I'm trying to think of like. I haven't watched as much videos now, but yeah. There's
every once in a while, man. I'm gonna have to check out your math channel. That sounds like interesting, at least for a few minutes.
Yeah, you gotta find. They're the thing about them too is like I'll watch them multiple times because I'm like, I don't like, even though he's really taking his time and he's being a good teacher.
Yeah.
Wait, what? And,
that's funny.
But
there was a Josh from Daily MTV told us about this channel when he was on, man, and that like totally stuck with me. And now I'm like drawing a blank of what the heck it was called. Anybody that's listening, it was like this like cart Nazi or something like that. Cartnarks. Oh my god, dude. He mentioned that and I started watching it one day and it was like, there goes 3 hours of my life.
I should shout out. So there's a Vancouver documentary that is on YouTube now that won some awards too. It's called Carts of Darkness.
Oh yeah.
About, like homeless guys who were collecting cans, and then they also kind of get into like racing shopping carts down the mountain.
Oh no, this sounds great.
Yeah. And like it's kind of just it's kind of about like shopping cart racing.
What was it called?
Carts of Darkness.
Carts of Darkness. I'm gonna have to put that in the show more.
That one's definitely like a good documentary to watch.
It's on YouTube though.
Yeah, watch like kind of these three homeless guys
tell
their
awesome.
story. And they're like into racing shopping carts.
I freaking love it.
Yeah, crazy, and their story's really interesting, and like crazy stuff happens.
I'll watch anything.
Yeah, that was definitely, yeah. But yeah, Cartnarks. Paul told me about Cartnarks, and I think probably because Josh told him.
Yeah.
But it's so confrontational. I like it secondhand.
Oh yeah. It's something else.
I'm watching, like, oh no, this is so like he's just confronting these people.
You're just waiting for him to get his ass kicked, man.
Oh yeah.
You're just like, when's it gonna happen?
So, I wish I had that confidence.
Oh man. I don't even
amazing.
Understand. What did he say? He said something to this one lady the one time, and she just would not freaking let it go. What did he call? Oh, I don't even remember. It was so funny though. Like whatever it was that he said, it just like, and it was something silly, like you know, he called her like a cart fairy or something. Yeah, I don't know. It was like something stupid, you know, like how he always says like really like weird stuff, you know, like you're a ninny two shoes or whatever, you know, and like he called her that, and man, she just it was like it triggered her, man. She was like ready to commit murder. It was just she just kept going back and back to it. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
Right on, man. Hey, dude, I really appreciate you coming on and joining the show, dude. It's been a lot of fun talking. This is like I said it in the show more notes before I started that, you know, I'd never talked to you before, and it's been a great conversation. I'm looking forward to the day I can make it up to your neck of the woods. You have to show me around.
Definitely. Yeah. No, it's been fun.
Yeah. It was definitely a really good time. For all of you guys that had a good time as well, if you liked it, hit the like button. If you liked it a little bit more than that, hit the subscribe button. Like I said earlier, man, I want to prove that stupid Social Blade algorithm wrong. Outside of that, thanks again to Patreon, all you guys out there. $1 a month, keeping the beer in the fridge. That's awesome. $5 a month, you get a sticker pack, and I get to buy more beer. So that helps out the channel a lot. I really appreciate it. Honestly, you guys keep this show rolling. Once again, man, honestly, Nick, it was really, really a good time having you on the show. You know what my outro is?
I don't think.
You don't know the outro?
I don't think so.
And this is for all you guys out there too. It only takes a bike to be a biker. Get out and be one.
I did know that. Yeah.